Okay, so I made a wise decision to stop at where I did and make that video because Tape is crazy. Like, look, let me just give you a quick rundown. I was writing a bit on the first two chapters that we will be covering, and this third chapter comes in while I'm watching a video with friends. So yeah, I can't ignore it anymore. Or well, I wasn't. I was gonna wait till the next one. I was hoping it would be not at the middle of night. But anyway, let's let's clearly start from the beginning. Demon versus Witch, chapter 54. Or chapter 53. No, chapter 54. What can I say other than the fact that this is how you start the battle between Aldebaran and Petra. Now, we do get a little bit of a talk between Aldebaran and Tea Party Echidna. It's definitely just going back and forth about, like, the whole witch stuff. But nothing other than the fact that the reunion between Al and Echidna is not exactly something that Al was expecting. And then we move into Al, like, the last chapter was Felt confronting Al, and we get to see, like, there is a whole ass group ready to beat his ass. And yes, he obviously can tell from there that Roy and Heinkel were defeated, and that his dragon side, Alcanica, was seemingly pushed back. So he completely underestimated everyone in this entire thing. So yeah, basically the battle begins, and Al is kind of pushed into a corner because we have the Aldebusters, which is members from the Emilia and Felt camp, 61 on total, that are basically jumping in to beat his ass, with Melee and Otto being one of the few that are basically not in this, because obviously Otto has no memories, so why are we going to throw him into that mix? And Melee is because she used too much of her divine protection to stop the black serpent, so she's exhausted. And that also goes with the Roy's trump card, the power of gluttony, and all this other stuff that Melee kind of got pushed back a bit. So it's interesting that Petra had to use, like, something that Subaru would use to, like, convince her friend not to join them in this fight. So, I mean, it just shows Melee wants to help and save Subaru, which is pretty adorable. It's definitely pretty adorable. Anyway, yes, they're all fighting. We get more of God, Buddha, Odd Lagna, and more of Petra actually losing. Like, look, this whole thing confirms it that Petra has sacrificed who knows how much, to the point, like, no one's gonna be able to live like that. Unless it's you want to live in a melancholy type life. But that is the price of that authority. It's got some interesting things with compression and teleportation and a bunch of other nonsense that is crazy. But, I mean, the cost of it is insane. And I'll get to why it fits better with Petra being the one to inherit this specific authority. But let's continue on with the current chapter. Obviously, they're all giving it their all. Garfield, Ram, and literally everyone else are essentially pushing Aldebaran back so much that in those 11 seconds, he had, like, over 7,000 loops of just trying to just get through those 11 seconds, which, you know, that reminds me of an Arc 7 chapter. But there is something funny that Al tries to bait Ram, saying that, oh, your sister must have been defeated and stuff, you know, trying to goat Ram into getting mad, only for her to basically respond and do an Uno reverse card, because her response is basically honest enough to say, oh shit, Ram is safe? Shit, what happened to Yae? And made him worried, essentially. Which, I mean, I gotta give credit to Rem, because imagine that. If Rem had actually lost to Yae, Yae would have arrived to this fight, and it would have been game over for the Aldebusters. But, yeah. Essentially, it is Al being pushed a lot, and during the looping, he does eventually realize that Petra is the one with the witch factor of melancholy. A defective one at that. That was a one-of-a-kind prepared for the hero and is incompatible with everyone else. So, interesting things on that matter. But the fact that he figured it out and he basically kind of spooked Petra a bit because he almost got her. She was able to teleport. But the thing that threw her off was just how he knew. Like, having the loop where, yes, they know this and stuff. Just seeing it from that kind of perspective kind of makes you think how everyone views Subaru, how he's able to solve everything because, you know, they think he is incredibly smart despite acting like an idiot, even though it's a lot more through trial and error. And unfortunately, like, we're dealing with an opponent that has that kind of ability. And yes, Aldebaran figuring it out that not only Petra has read the Book of the Dead of Natsuki Subaru, but having the witch factor makes him hate Natsuki Subaru, blame him. And when I read this part, my mind was like, bitch, you're the one that had that plan. The fact that it all happened the way it is your own undoing. It's similar to the whole phrasing of your stars were bad. That is more, feels like a genuine excuse on why you're losing or why you're gonna beat the other person per se. It's just something that kind of gets me now. But yes, something interesting during it is that all of his thoughts are kind of getting compressed. They're basically being squashed, if that's the best term to put it, because Petra, with her ability, is completely sacrificing the ability to never reveal important secrets for the rest of her life. Like, she used Compress Agony, which just completely started to mentally overload Al's mind. The whole thing is that it goes back to how Subaru during Arc 3 was constantly being pushed, to the point where he nearly, like, mind broke. So the whole point here is she is using melancholy to effectively try to overhaul Aldebaran's mindset so much that it breaks his will, which unfortunately for Petra, Aldebaran is way more mentally unstable than anything else. Hell, he is not even petrified, or like paralyzed by the thought of like fear of death. So, you know, greed if Subaru essentially. But this is where he does his domain expansion matrix redefinition, and this is where the problem comes in. The matrix kind of decided that, nah, Al, you are no longer gonna loop. We are about to give someone else that ability, and guess what? It is Old Man Rom. Rom just collapses down, because Petra is the main heavy hitter in terms of power. Old Man Rom is essentially the strategist, as he is the one that discovered Aldebaran's little trick. And that was with no information. So, having, seeing, like, going through the perspective of Old Man Rom and watching, like, how he's kind of confused and how everyone's just unaware of just a random looping, kind of shows how annoying that ability really is when you get targeted. And yeah, this is the 6th final battle with Aldebaran. Like, this is it. Like, the Tappe is saying here that this is the end for, like, battling Aldebaran. So it's either here or make your peace, essentially. So for that chapter, I have to say, it is obviously, it's cool seeing how Al is actually pressured. Like, he's genuinely being pushed so much, and it's because he's facing another authority. And yes, it's like a more like broken per se, in the sense that it is not exactly usable unless you're designed for that one, because it requires a lot of sacrifice. And yet Petra is a child. Now, as humans, as adults per se, we have, say, limited potential, because we've already pushed wherever direction we want. Petra is, I believe, 13, 14, so teenager. And she's still like kid-ish, but she has limitless potential. it is where any path she can go to, it could happen. So I can see believable that she could sacrifice a shit ton more paths that could be open to her, because children do have limitless potential. But that aside, Rom getting hit with the victim while Aldebaran becomes the aggressor of his authority is a problem. Which, yes, we do see it in the next chapter. Chapter 55. That one, the aggressor authority, essentially. That one is just insane in the sense that we do kind of see in the beginning of this chapter going with another conversation with the Witch of Greed, and how, yes, she basically did got put into that problem of getting sent constantly back, like after killing Aldebaran or doing whatever, and it's supposed to mind break you. That's the point of that part of the ability. Like, if Al's not using it, whoever's using it, it's supposed to break their spirits, break their hearts. Essentially, it's supposed to destroy them, turn them mad, essentially. And unfortunately for this ability, the Witch of Greed had experienced like a ton of hellish things, but because she is literally insane, it did not, that aspect of the ability did not work, which gives way for an opening to counter Al's authority, which, yes, we will get to that. But we have to move on to something that the Witch of Greed says, her iconic line, "Why must love fade?" And goddamn, her saying that to Al is, I genuinely don't know what to think to that one. It is a little bit annoying hearing that, but I mean, it is what it is. So yes, we're back to the main thing. Rom is out of the whole, like, completely just done. Petra goes to check, and along with Subaru, or Ghost Subaru, they're able to kind of see that Old Man Rom was trying to do something, like tallies, writing down like different things to essentially try to alert the others on what's going on. So he already knew he was probably about to be mind destroyed, so he decided, let's try to give some hint for the person who's about to like check on him. And yes, Felt is obviously way more confident that they can do it. However, unfortunately for like this whole thing, each one was going to get knocked down, because I mean, at this point the authority kind of took over and decided everyone is pushing Aldebaran way too much, so we need to kind of switch it up a bit. And hearing baseball terms being used kind of throws me off a bit. But you know what? I mean, because I love baseball, by the way, but no, that's not the point. Point is that Aldebaran is using his domain expansion matrix red definition, so his authority, and he keeps knocking people down one by one. Because, you know, might as well put pressure on literally everyone else. But the biggest thing is that the last one standing is essentially Petra. And the fact that he says his iconic line and then he says play ball, with the chapter ending with that this is the beginning of the endless hell of Petra Leyte. Look, that is one hell of a line that almost convinced me to actually do the video earlier. If it wasn't for the latest chapter that came out like an hour and 2 hours ago, that by the time I'm me recording this, the actual named chapter of Petra. Now, before we move to that chapter, I have to say, it is interesting that Echidna was dealing with Aldebaran, and the fact that it probably is he didn't know about that specific part of the authority, and if he did, then I mean, she is the first person to have properly countered it. But the fact that he keeps, every time he's about to lose, he gets that line in his mind that he isn't going to lose because he is Echidna's creation. I butchered the wording, but I'm getting to the important point of it, being that it almost makes me think that Aldebaran was supposed to win, and because he lost against Satella, he, I think the original Witch of Greed readjusted his authority in order to now add in a special condition that should Aldebaran like mentally start to lose, the authority will act on its own. Because it's mentioned in previous chapters that it's all buggy and stuff. Like, it gets all buggied up and does its own thing. I think that's the witch's manipulation, so you're kind of still manipulating things. And having everything kind of go that if Al is even about to lose, the authority will act on its own to assure that he does not lose no matter what. And it's where, obviously, you have to be able to beat Aldebaran before the authority can even do that. But then again, anyone trapped in that damn authority as the victim is going to suffer. So, for the Petra chapter, obviously we get more into how Petra, she was a villager of Arlem village, a country girl who, honestly, she was just destined to be a villager, like, the most beautiful villager, really, and she would have died had Subaru not interfered. So, it is insane that we're basically going back to early stuff, at least a little bit, and how despite, if she could redo it, she would redo it everything all over again, that it, like, she wouldn't care that she diverged from her the original plan of her route. No, she would rather be with Subaru and the others, and basically be alongside them. And yes, we get more of Petra sacrificing more things. So, yes, the play ball, domain expansion, matrix redefinition, and more commentary on Al just trying to break Petra. It's kind of sad saying in those words, but yes, she is being pushed like no one else. And I'll try to summarize this. Throughout this entire thing, Petra is obviously being like pushed. However, she's able to also start to figure out how to somewhat deal with Al's thing. And because it is like the whole point is to break someone's like will and stuff, it all goes to hell whenever Petra kind of does with Subaru figures out like how to deal with the conditions. And not only that, but her basically accepting being a witch. And it's interesting that she's glad that Frederica isn't there, because of all the people, she would not be able to look at Frederica's eyes and basically like lie about what she is doing, because it is most likely she would be honest and that would cause problems. But anyway, she has like a bunch that she had sacrificed. No alcohol, no writing letters, no holding stuffed animals, no needle or threads, don't sing, no playing with children, no visiting memorable places, no picking beautiful flowers, no eating favorite foods, no going back to her hometown, no crying in public, no wiping someone's tears, no talking about memories, no talking about favorite stories, no calling people by their nicknames, no inviting anyone to her house, not caring about someone's end, no holding hands with anyone. Oh my, there's so many. I was writing them down and there's way too many of them. It is a lot, I'm just gonna say that, but because she is now like a mental witch, she like, I think Aldebaran really did push her to be a witch. The entire point of breaking Petra does not work anymore. Like, it unfortunately fucks up whatever Aldebaran is doing, and because of this, it is clear that that part of the authority will no longer work. And it's interesting that throughout this whole thing, Petra is not going to sacrifice her own life in order to beat Aldebaran. And this is because that is, yeah, she would get a shit ton of power from it, but that's way too reckless. And it's kind of interesting her basically not being as reckless as Subaru would, because he probably would give up his life. But yes, essentially she tries to converse and knows that Al has to be the one to end this, so they have to she overcame the first part, which is essentially her overcoming the mental breakdown, like losing your mind. So now it's forcing Al to change the way his authority works, and she uses a compress ability to stimulate trauma, and it kind of reaches not to his body but to his soul, to such a point that it actually causes the never-ending loop to just stop, and to give Petra essentially a chance to finally make a counter. So she broke Aldebaran's little deadlock by kind of just throwing a strong sense of trauma at him, and it was enough to get his soul kind of riled up. So now the Witch of Melancholy is the second person who has defeated this realm of aggressor, which, I mean, it's a bit insane because it's Petra now powered up to being the Witch of Melancholy. So now obviously it's what is Petra's next move, and this is the most brilliant thing ever. She, using her compress ability and teleportation essentially, she brings Roy Alphard into the mix. Like, there was the thought of maybe bringing Reinhardt, or maybe bringing Rem, or maybe bringing, like, Al was thinking of different things, but the fact that she brought Roy, it kind of causes a lot of things. Now, obviously, Roy is alive. I'm kind of happy. I honestly think Julia should be the one to end Roy's life, but that's just me. And I will say this. The fact that Al freaks the fuck out and immediately realizes why this is bad is because he thinks Roy is going to eat Petra Leite's name or memories, well, mainly name, and this will cause such a domino effect, because then that means that the witch will no longer realize that someone else knows about Subaru's thing, and that will cause her to go away. And if she goes away, Reinhardt is free, and he's gonna come for that ass. So that basically means Al's entire plan goes to shit if the witch goes away and Reinhardt is freed up. So he immediately places the rules between him and Roy that he's forbidden to eat memory. So yes, this is essentially trying to tighten up a little bit of Roy to prevent that. But that was something interesting. Al picked up that Petra didn't seem annoyed by that. And here's the thing. She understood Al's weakness. And there was a character that I definitely did not account for coming in and becoming the MVP of this fight, in a sense. Now, I'm saying that a little early, but this character, we haven't seen this character in quite some time. Yeah, I know, I'm doing it for suspense. Anyway, Felix Argil, or how do you fucking say that last time? Or Ferris, regardless, Felix Ferris, whatever. Crucius first night comes in, and it fucks all of Aldebaran's thing. He tries to kill himself via using the poison, and that doesn't work. He tries to neck himself with his actual weapon, doesn't work. And that is because Ferris casted such a healing magic on the same level as Aldebaran, which effectively means he cannot die. So the words, once again, no one can beat you, whom I created, comes back into him. And I think this is when he starts to genuinely be terrified. Because if he cannot die, then that means that he is fucked. And even if he does try to force Felix into like a mentally break, so that way Felix can finally like stop healing him, it's probably not gonna work because Felix is pretty tough mentally, and even then, like, the others will eventually start to gang up on him and cause a lot of trouble to knock him down. So yes. Oh, Al, you underestimated your opponents for the last time. But anyway, not the point. Point is that yes, Al is freaking the fuck out, and lo and behold, Alcanica is still around and manages to blast like a big wave into the battlefield and completely cause enough shenanigans to prevent Al from officially losing, which, I mean, Roswell, you had one job. Anyway, not only is Al having the one opportunity to now have to counter the issue with having his name eaten, because that's the only way to finally try to move forward with his original plan, but he officially says his name. Now, before we say Al's name and go on how that is so crazy, I have to say, Al, why didn't you do this from the beginning? Like, genuinely, you could have saved a shit ton of hassle if you did this from the beginning. So, it's such a dumbass. Anyway, his name is Rigel. Natsuki Rigel. The name of the stupid star that betrayed the expectations of the witch and set the sun. That alone is crazy. We had Spica, who is, well, previously known as Louis Arneb. Now we have Rigel in the mix. Do you want to know what the crazy thing about having Rigel there is? Is that there is a lot more to Aldebaran than, obviously, the Subaru equals Al theories can go to hell now, and I'm kind of a little bit sad about that, but at the same time happy, because obviously it doesn't get too convoluted. But it's like Rigel Natsuki, the same one from like the Slothiv. They're something with Flugel. This has to do with Flugel. Like, I have no other words other than Flugel, Flugel, Flugel. He has to be involved in some way. But yeah, that's the end. Like, Al is basically freaking out. He can't die. So now the new thing is we got to lose our whole... Everyone who knows him, they have to get rid of him. Like, he has to disappear from everyone's memories. Because if he doesn't do this now, if he doesn't get his name eaten, then that's it. Like, everything to remove Natsuki Subaru from the world and fulfill the long-cherished wish of the witch goes to complete other shit. But I don't have a theory section because I don't know when the fuck Tappe is gonna do. At this point, I'm just along for the ride. I'm just telling you my thoughts, and it is all fucking amazing. This is probably gonna be the peakest of arcs. Now, do I think the Great Reset theory will still happen? Maybe, maybe not. But if it does, then honestly, it's too complicated. Yeah. So pretty banger chapters. Like, fuck, this fight changed everything.